These are the runes for Gwen, and honestly, I think these are probably the best ones that I've run across. Maybe a phase rush build also isn't bad, but I prefer this build. I think the first item you should be recording on Gwen is definitely a Nashor's Tooth. I feel like it gives a really nice power spike alongside attack speed boots. It also has the passive that's similar to your E, so it scales really well with Gwen's abilities. And I feel like it's a really nice pickup for her, especially for her first pickup. Next, we'll be talking about the mythics that Gwen will be building. I believe she should either build Hextech, Riftmaker, or Liandry's Anguish. The other mythic items aren't quite as good on her as these three. Hextech is good for the mobility it gives. Its damage is kind of meh, but it could also be argued that Everfrost might work well too, thanks to the root. But I just feel like Hextech is just a better item overall for Gwen. Next we have Riftmaker, which is a pretty good bruiserish item for her. It's nice for fights that you might be in long durations in, and that's where its damage really picks up. But in short little burst fights, it's not the best item for her. But if you think you're going to be taking long extended fights in the top lane, then I do think that Riftmaker is probably the best bet. You'll probably know if you're taking long fights because this will be the second item that you're picking up. So you'll know beforehand what type of fights you're already going to be taking against the laner that you're fighting against. And finally, the best mythic that I think for Gwen is Liandry's Anguish, because it's a tank shredding item. And Gwen is meant to shred tanks. So this item and this champion work really well together. They synergize perfectly. Liandry's Anguish scales with the enemy's max health, and your abilities, your Q especially, does true damage, which means that these items and this champion synergize well together, making for a deadly combo, and it definitely deals the most damage out of all the other items with Gwen, especially against tanks. Now, for her core items, I feel like first item should always be Nashor's Tooth into a Liandry's and Bork with attack speed boots alongside. And for the optimal build, my build path is Nashor's Tooth, Liandry's Anguish, Bork, Demonic Embrace, and a Death Cap. Now, you can also argue that you don't need the Death Cap, and you could go for Void Staff or Lichbane for that extra kick that Lichbane gives for every... So, the thing with Lichbane and Gwen is every time you proc her R, you also get a Lichbane proc, which means since you have to auto-attack for each R proc anyways, this is a perfect item that synergizes pretty nicely with her R. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This build has kind of been working really well for me on Gwen. I played quite a bit of games in her, and this is kind of the build that I stumbled upon that feels really nice on her. And if you check this build out in your own games, tell me how you performed. Tell me if you did good, if you didn't like it. And this is Fishman is Nice, and I am out. I'll see you guys on the next one.